So, even more balancing equations. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to pick some harder ones, and I'm going to show you some ways to figure out how to balance these things, basically which elements to look at first, and so on. Let's start with the one that I put for the do now. I'm going to do 3 today. So this one will be kind of easy just to start out, and I'll do 2 harder ones. There's carbon plus sulfur, which is S8. I'm going to make carbon disulfide. Okay, so remember, anytime we balance equations, we always make a list. For this one, there's just going to be 2 things, carbon and sulfur. Okay. Now, what are we going to do here? Yeah. So we're going to figure out, okay, the element that's unbalanced is sulfur, so that's the one we got to deal with. So we want to have 8 sulfur on this side. So what am I going to put here? 4 there. So I'll make this 8. This becomes 4, right? So now I got to balance the other side. And 4 in front of the carbon. And that's it. So that one's relatively easy. All right, let's do something that's a little harder now. I'll do it down here so I don't run out of space. Rubidium plus rubidium nitrate. So this will be like the pure metal. This one will be like a salt. Makes rubidium oxide, Rb2O. I imagine this would look like an ash. And then this is just nitrogen gas, which is what you're breathing right now.
You're breathing nitrogen?
Yeah, the stuff you're breathing right now is 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and a little bit of argon. All right, so we'll make our list here. Rubidium, there's 1 and 1, that's 2. Nitrogen, there's 1. Oxygen, there's 3. Over here, it's going to be rubidium is 2. Nitrogen's 2. Oxygen's 1. Okay, so a little bit of strategy here, right? There's 2 things that are unbalanced. If it were me and I'm looking at this problem, here's what I would say to myself. If I had to deal with rubidium, which it is balanced right now, there's a rubidium by itself with no number in front. So that means there's 1 of them. So I can make rubidium on the left side any number I want to. So I should do that last so that once I got the other stuff straight, I can do this and it won't mess other stuff up. Here we have nitrogen by itself, so I'll do that second to last. It's got a 2, so I have to make sure it's even on the other side, but that's not too hard to do. So the one thing that's going to mess everything up is when I mess with oxygen. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and do oxygen first and see how that works out. So here's 3 and here's 1. So I'm going to put a 3 here. So make that a 3. And then of course you always got to update the rest of your list, so that's going to change rubidium. So this becomes a 6. And next thing I'm going to do is try and do nitrogen. So that's 2, that's 1, so I'll put 2 here. That's going to change everything. Nitrogen becomes 2. Actually, it changes my oxygen, which is now going to be 6. And rubidium is going to be 2 in this, plus the 1 is 3, right? Okay. So now we got to go back, because now I messed up my oxygen here, right? So now I got to change this one, right? Let's make that a 6 instead. That's going to make this be 6 and this be 12. Really not following so far. Any question?
So you just doubled that?
Yeah, I just doubled that. You can always go back and erase a number and change it. You don't have to worry, then you just recalculate your list. Okay, so nitrogen and oxygen are done. Rubidium's the only thing left. Now pay close attention, right? We got rubidium here and rubidium here. We got 2 there and then 1 here. I don't want to mess with this because it's going to mess up nitrogen and oxygen. So I'm going to put something here. Well, I have to have 12. And I know I'm going to have these 2. So what should I do here? If I put a 6 here plus 2, that would be 8. 10. Right. Put a 10 here plus those 2, that would be 12. Remember, there's a plus sign here. So what I put here, that number only applies to this thing. This number applies to this thing. Good? Hmm? All right. Questions on that? All right, let's do one that's a little bit harder, and this will be the last one today. This will be can call this example 3 if you want. I can't really label that one, I guess. Okay, so this one we're going to have H3PO4. That's called phosphoric acid. That's with magnesium hydroxide. I'm going to leave some space here. And this is going to produce magnesium phosphate. This is a double replacement, right? Magnesium and hydrogen are switching. PO4, 2 plus water. All right, so this is a lot of stuff. So again, you get a problem like this, it looks like a lot, just make your list. And deal with all this stuff later. First we're going to do hydrogen. 3 there. And then over here, look, we have 2 hydroxides. So the 2 applies to anything inside the parentheses. So there's two hydrogen in here, plus those 3, so that's 5. Phosphorus, there's just 1. Oxygen, yeah, 4 there, plus 2 hydroxides is 2 oxygens. So 4 and 2 is 6. And then last, magnesium is 1. All right, let's do the other side. Make sure your list stays in the same order so you don't confuse yourself. That's 2 phosphorus. There's 2 phosphates, right? So that means 2 phosphorus plus 2, well, we'll do the oxygen in a second, but 2 phosphorus, right? Mm-hmm. And then oxygen, each phosphate has 4 oxygen. There's 2 of them, so that's 2 times 4 is 8. Plus 1 oxygen in the water is 9.
You didn't do
Yeah. No, I'm just making sure everybody's still with me here. And magnesium is 3. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this problem, we have basically everything's unbalanced. So you think, okay, well, where should I start? Well, here's something to notice. Every single one of these has oxygen in it. When that happens, leave oxygen for last. And the reason you're going to do that is, if I balance everything else, the oxygen should be balanced at that point, because all the other stuff affects oxygen. So don't do oxygen. Hydrogen is in 3 things, so if you have to change it on this side, you won't be sure which one to change. So leave that for second to last. Find something that's only in 2 elements, like magnesium. You know what you have to do with magnesium. There's only one choice. You got to increase this one. So do something that's only in 2 of the compounds. So here we go. We're going to do magnesium. There's 1 here, 3 there, so we're going to put a 3 here. Now once you do that, you know it's going to change oxygen to hydrogen. So you should go back and redo your math. This is 3 of these things, and these things have 2 hydroxides in them. So for hydrogen, it's going to be 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 3 there is 9.
Wait, we're doing the hydrogen.
Yeah. For oxygen, it's going to be 3 times 2 is 6, plus the 4 there is 10. You take your time doing each of these things every time. Okay, magnesium's fixed. They're both 3. Next thing we're going to do is phosphorus. There's 2 on this side, 1 on this side. So I'm going to put a 2 in front of phosphoric acid. So that's going to make this be 2. Okay, for hydrogen, 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. That's 12 hydrogen. And then for oxygen, 2 times 4 is 8. We'll write it up there. 3 times 2 is 6. 8 and 6 is 14. All right, so we got phosphorus done. We got magnesium done. Let's do hydrogen now. 12 on this side, 2 on this side. What should I put here?
6.
Put a 6 here. 6 times 2 is 12. And at this point, everything else is balanced. What should happen is oxygen should be balanced on its own. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 oxygen. 6 times 1 is 6. That's 14. That's done. All right? The important thing to know about balancing equations is you can always just keep changing things, right? You can keep changing the numbers until it works out. So don't worry about if you make a mistake, or if you change something, just keep going along. Usually, you'll get it if you just keep playing with the numbers. All right, we're done. This is up. Yeah, go ahead. What's wrong? You got a nose bleed? Yeah.
Watch your hair.